Hey Craig, welcome to the GAC RMHC Golf Classic. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing at regular speed. We'll let that play on through. We'll put you back in your dress position and we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your setup, let's first of all just take a look at your posture, which looks really good. Your spine's nice and straight, not a slight tilt. Your legs come down into a nicely unlocked position. Arms hang down nice and naturally off your tilted spine. Club works out to the ball. So you're achieving really good posture here in association with great balance. So setup from this standpoint looks superb. Let's go ahead and take a look at your alignment. We can see your feet running. Let me just undo that for a second. We can see your feet running in this direction. Let's carry that out towards the fairway. Now, theoretically, your club face is supposed to run parallel to your feet. Parallel lines on camera will have an appearance to converge. Even with that scenario of the conversion, we can see that you're set up basically to hit the corner of that body of water. So obviously there's going to have to be some form of compensation to try and get that ball working away from the water and towards the center of the fairway. So you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to swing the golf club on plane, start the ball at your yellow flag, impart right to left spin on the ball by obviously getting to close somewhat through the hitting zone, and that will allow you to sort of draw the ball back towards our intended target. Or you're going to come a little over the top, swing the club a little bit from out to in, and ultimately try and pull the ball back to the red flag. And we'll get a sense of what it is that you do here as far as a compensation in just a minute here. So let's do a little split screen comparison between you and Jordan Spieth. We've got some color-coded lines up on the screen just to use as a visual reference as it pertains to swing plane. As Jordan initiates his takeaway, simply creates good shoulder rotation, draws the arms and hands back as well as the club, and we want to see the club coming back relatively on the red line. Through the early stages of the golf swing, we also want to create some really good wrist hinge into play. So right about here, what we want to do now is we want to obviously establish that hinge, which is going to allow the club head to move from having been below and in front of our hands to now being above and behind, all the while the shaft of the club is still on plane here. Okay? At this point in time, we're going to work the golf club from red up towards the blue-yellow V zone. When we set the golf club at the top of the backswing, we either want to have the left arm in the golf club situated on the yellow line, anywhere within the blue-yellow V territory, or physically up on blue, as we can see with Jordan Spieth here. We want to create full shoulder rotation, and we want to do this about a very stable right side, all the while maintaining the posture and the spinal axis that we achieved at address. So let's go ahead and watch you initiate your takeaway here. Your tendency when you draw the golf club back is your hands and the club move a little bit outside. So one of the things I don't want you to hesitate to do is when you draw the golf club back, the golf swing is a circular motion. It works on a plane, therefore it works on an arc. And a circle works inside the ball. So don't be afraid to let your hands and the club just ever so slightly work just a little bit more inside. As you draw the golf club a little too straight back, you're actually getting off of plane. And my only concern here is you might end up setting your arms a little bit steep at the top of the backswing because you're sending things to the outside. So let's see what happens here as we continue to draw the club back. We get some good hinge into play. And actually right here, you're still a little bit out in front of you and a little bit working the golf club a little bit steep. But right about in this frame, you start to drop things back in behind you a little bit more right there. So there's a little bit of a recovery, and you start shallowing things out to the top of your backswing. So this is a nice correction. So when you finally get to the top of your swing, I don't think you're going to get set too steep, and actually you absolutely do not. So when we're finally set at the top of the backswing, real good position. Turned your shoulders really well, stable right side. You've maintained your posture and your spinal axis while creating that rotation. Your arms are in perfect geometry relative to your core, and the club's in great position relative to your arms. So the reality is if you're going to get set in a really good position here, don't hesitate to let your hands and your golf club just move inside just a hair when we initially draw that golf club back. But regardless, even though you took it a little bit outside, you end up getting it set perfectly here. So it's really somewhat irrelevant anyways. As we create our transition back into the ball, simply want to move our weight from our right foot to our left, fire on our knees and our hips laterally to the target. Unwind the core and fire the hands. And in doing so, we need to move the golf club from the blue-yellow V zone, wherever we set it, getting the club to return back to red. And that's exactly what we see here with Jordan Spieth. We see the golf club having returned back to being on plane. The other thing we want to observe at this stage of the golf swing is the relationship between the lead form and the golf club. I refer to this as the backwards check mark. It simply means that the club head right now is remaining above and behind his hands coming into the hitting zone. This is what's going to allow us to create a lot of power in our golf swing. Let alone, he's also going to have the ability to hit the ball straight due to the fact that the club returned back to plane, as we already pointed out. This is a main criteria in order to produce straight golf shots. So let's go ahead and watch your transition back into the ball here. Hands drop really, really nicely right there. Feet and knees working. So let's just make sure that we get into a good pre-impact position and that that club is returning back to being on plane. So right here at this point in time, we can basically take a look at the lead forearm and your golf club and basically see that, we're retaining angle. Club head's above and behind your hands. The only issue right now is the golf club isn't really returning close enough to plane just yet. The other thing I want to look at is the club shaft is a hair steep. So the club shaft right now is sitting at about 51 degrees. Whereas when we look at Jordan Spieth in about the exact same position, his club shaft is much more shallow at about 31 degrees. So you are coming in the ball a little steep without the club head returning back to plane. Therefore, you are on top of the plane a little, which could produce a little bit of a pull. Now, we already mentioned that you were set up with your alignment to hit the golf ball a little bit to the right. I had said that you were going to create some form of a compensation that's going to try and hit the ball back to the left a little. So if your club comes in a little steep and a hair from the outside, this will help you pull the ball back online. So this might be your compensation here. So let's go ahead and get this stuff off the screen. Let's continue to track the club head coming into the ball, and let's just see where it really goes in the next frame, because I'm very curious to see where this club now hits in the next stage. So let's go to the next frame here. So yeah, there we are. So we are on top of the plane. We are attacking the ball just ever so slightly from the outside. So if we track the club head coming into the ball, we can see that the club never returns fully back onto plane here, and therefore we're on a subtle out to in path. And again, that's a perfect compensation for the fact that we are aimed a little bit right. So in Jordan Spieth's case, we can see the club is returned back to plane. Very simply, the club tracks into the ball directly from the red line. And as I stated, this is what produces straight golf shots in accordance to our alignment, as long as the club face lastly squares up. So three things we need in order to hit straight golf balls and to be consistent are: we have to aim well. Feet have to run parallel left of our target. We can see with you, you're a little bit closed. Club then has to return down onto plane in order to be able to hit the ball straight in accordance to that alignment. Then lastly, obviously, club face has to square up to allow all that to come together. So knowing that our descending planes are just slightly different, we can actually look at the path of the club now. We can clearly see that Jordan's golf club is inside the ball. Yours is directly behind it. His club expands out to make contact, moves through in a nice, natural, subtle arc. What we're going to see with your club is it's just going to drop down and across a little now in the next frame. There we go. So there's your path. It is moving across to the left. So very simply put, if we square that club face up to the path, the nice thing is, and we time it properly, nice thing is we can pull that golf ball right back to the center of the fairway due to the fact that, as we mentioned, we were aimed out to the right. So there's your compensation. You're attacking the ball a little bit from outside to inside. If we time it properly, you can hit what I refer to as either a pull straight shot, a slight pull draw if we don't over release the club, or a slight pull fade. So neither one of those shots are going to hurt you. The issues arise when, if we over release the club, not only do we pull the ball, but then we've imparted too much right to left spin and we're hitting some form of a pull draw or pull hook. If we leave the club face too open, then what ends up happening is we block the ball a little right, club face was too open, and we're creating some form of sort of a block slice. But at the end of the day, if you time this up properly, you will be able to hit, again, what I said is a slight pull straight shot or a subtle pull draw or a subtle pull fade, that's not going to hurt you at all. Let's go ahead and clear this stuff off the screen. Let's just check out and see what your club face actually did through the hitting zone. So it looks like your club face definitely is squaring up. We're pulling the ball back to the left for sure. That ball also has probably a little bit of right to left spin and will draw a little bit and work its way left of center, but certainly nothing that's going to hurt you. That shot's going to turn out and be just fine. So like I said, if the club over releases, the ball's going to maybe go a little too far left. Under release is going to go a little too far right, and that's just due to the fact that you have a subtle alignment that aims you out to the right. You have a subtle move over the top trying to pull the ball back to the left, and then at the last second here, the end result of that shot is going to go in accordance to what that club face does. Great looking golf swing, super athletic. I mean, your hands come back, they fire through. Your core works well. You coil, you uncoil. You got great footwork that allows you to get through to a finish. Golf swing looks superb. Setup's amazing. It's just we are aimed a little right. We are coming a little over the top. Therefore, we're pulling the ball back on line. And at that point in time, the club face has to just line up perfectly. And if it does, you're going to hit great golf shots. If it over releases, going a little left. Under releases, going a little right. And you will see those left or right dispersions based on the timing of your club face. Okay? So if you want to be a little bit more consistent, you would just have to learn how to master your alignment so your feet are running parallel left of your target, your club face. Learn how to bring that golf club down fully on plane instead of just slightly over the top. At that point in time, you won't have to worry about the club face because you can just let things naturally move through. Okay? But good looking job, looks fantastic here. Anyways, if at any point in time you want to fine tune any of these things, I'm located over at Glen Abbey in Oakville. Be happy to structure a little program for you. Also, if you're involved with any golf tournaments at all, and you guys are looking for a unique gift to provide to your guests, certainly feel free to touch base. Be happy to discuss my swing analysis services with you. Anyways, hope you had a fabulous day, and I hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video. Take care.